There are moments in life that split your world into two parts. The life you thought you had. And the truth. For me, that moment happened on a rainy Tuesday afternoon when I found an old folder hidden in my father's study. A folder with my name on it. At first, I thought it was nothing. Maybe school records. Medical papers. Birthday documents. Something boring. Something normal. But after opening it, I realized my entire life had been built on a lie. And by the time I reached the last page, I understood why my mother cried every year on my birthday. Why my father never looked me directly in the eyes. And why a family secret had been buried for more than 25 years. Everything changed because of that folder. Everything. ## character introduction. My name is Ethan Carter. I'm 31 years old. At least that's what I believed at the time. I grew up in a quiet town in Oregon with my parents, David and Sarah Carter. From the outside, we looked like the perfect family. My father owned a construction company. My mother worked at a local library. We weren't rich. We weren't poor. We were simply normal. At least that's what everyone thought. Growing up, there was always something strange about my family. Nothing obvious. Just little things. Things that didn't make sense. My mother was incredibly protective. Too protective. Whenever I got sick, she panicked. Whenever I traveled, she called constantly. Whenever I mentioned moving away, she looked like she might cry. My father was different. He wasn't cold. But he wasn't warm either. He loved me. I knew that. Yet there was always distance between us. An invisible wall. As a child, I couldn't understand it. As an adult, I learned the reason. But not yet. At the time, I still believed I knew who I was. The discovery happened after my father suffered a mild heart attack. Thankfully, he survived. The doctors said he needed rest. My mother stayed with him at the hospital while I volunteered to organize paperwork at their house. His office was a disaster. Stacks of receipts. Tax records. Blueprints. Old contracts. Dust-covered boxes. I spent hours sorting everything. By evening, rain hammered against the windows. Thunder echoed outside. The entire house felt strangely empty. That's when I noticed a locked drawer. I had never seen it before. The key wasn't anywhere nearby. Normally, I would have ignored it. But something caught my attention. A small label. Handwritten. One word. Ethan. My name. My stomach tightened. Why would my father keep a locked drawer with my name on it? Curiosity took over. After searching the office, I found a key hidden behind a bookshelf. The drawer opened. Inside was a single brown folder. Nothing else. Just one folder. My name written across the front. The handwriting belonged to my mother. I remember laughing nervously. Maybe baby photos. Maybe adoption papers for a pet. Maybe something sentimental. I opened it. The first page froze me in place. Birth certificate. But not mine. Or at least not the one I'd seen my entire life. Different hospital. Different signatures. Different information. My hand started shaking. I turned the page. Then another. Then another. Every page raised more questions. Every answer created 10 new mysteries. ## suspense and conflict. The documents suggested something impossible. According to these records, I wasn't born where my parents claimed. I wasn't born on the date listed on my driver's license. And the woman identified as my mother wasn't Sarah Carter. The name on the document was someone else entirely. Rebecca Morgan. I stared at the page for several minutes. Trying to process it. Trying to convince myself it was a mistake. But the evidence continued. Hospital reports. legal documents, letters, photographs. One photo showed a young woman holding a newborn baby. On the back was written, Rebecca and Ethan. 3 days before everything happened. Everything happened? What did that mean? Who was Rebecca? And why had my parents hidden this from me? I heard a car outside. My parents were home. Quickly, I returned everything to the folder. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. That night, I barely slept. Questions consumed me. The next morning, I decided to confront my mother. I expected confusion. Maybe embarrassment. Maybe an explanation. Instead, she turned completely pale. The moment she saw the folder, tears filled her eyes. She didn't even try to deny it. She simply whispered, "Where did you find that?" My heart dropped. Because innocent people don't react like that. People hiding secrets do. And my mother was clearly hiding one. A very big one. ## mini cliffhanger. For nearly a minute, neither of us spoke. The silence felt unbearable. Then she said something that changed everything. Something I never expected. She looked directly at me and whispered, "Your father can never know you found this." The room went silent. I felt ice run through my veins. Why? Why couldn't my father know? What was inside that folder that frightened her so much? And what was she protecting? Him? Or me? I was about to find out. ## major discovery. That evening, my mother finally told me part of the truth. Only part. According to her, Rebecca Morgan was her younger sister. My aunt. A woman I had never heard of. A woman whose existence had been completely erased from family history. 26 years earlier, Rebecca disappeared. At least that's what everyone believed. There had been an accident. A terrible accident. Rebecca died. But before she died, she left behind a baby. Me. My mother and father took me in. Raised me as their own. Legally adopted me. Changed my records. Started over. I should have felt grateful. Instead, something felt wrong. The story sounded rehearsed. Incomplete. Like someone reading only half a script. I asked the obvious question. If Rebecca was my mother, why hide it from me? My mother began crying. Real crying. The kind that comes from years of pain. Then she said, "Because Rebecca didn't die in an accident." My entire body went numb. What happened? She looked toward the hallway. Making sure my father wasn't listening. Then she answered. And my world shattered. Rebecca was murdered. Not by a stranger. Not by a criminal. By someone inside the family. For years, everyone believed it was an accident because the truth was buried. Hidden. Covered up. Protected. I could barely breathe. Then I asked the question.
Who did it? My mother's hands trembled. Tears streamed down her face. And after 26 years of silence, she finally spoke the name. David Carter. My father. The man who raised me. The man I trusted. The man whose last name I carried. According to my mother, he and Rebecca had been secretly involved before she died. A relationship nobody knew about. An argument occurred shortly before Rebecca's death. A violent one. She fell. Hit her head. Never woke up. My father panicked. The family protected him. The truth disappeared. And the baby me became part of the cover-up. I wasn't just adopted. I was evidence. Living evidence. Everything I knew collapsed in seconds. Everything. And the worst part? My father never knew my mother had finally told me. Not yet. For 3 days after my mother's confession, I couldn't look at my father the same way. Every conversation felt different. Every smile felt suspicious. Every memory became a question. I kept replaying my childhood in my head. Birthday parties. fishing trips, school graduations, family vacations. Had the man standing beside me all those years really killed my biological mother? Or was there more to the story? I needed proof. Not rumors. Not assumptions. Proof. My mother had carried this secret for 26 years. That alone told me something important. People don't keep secrets that long unless they're terrified of the truth. Or terrified of what happens when the truth comes out. I decided to investigate quietly, without telling anyone, especially my father. The folder contained one detail I couldn't stop thinking about. A newspaper clipping. It was old and yellowed, barely readable. The headline said, "Local woman dies after fall near river trail." The article was short. Too short. Rebecca's death was described as a tragic accident. No witnesses. No investigation. Case closed. Something felt wrong. A young woman dies suddenly, leaves behind a baby, and nobody asks questions? That didn't make sense. The next morning, I visited the town library, the same library where my mother had worked for years. I searched through archived newspapers. Hours passed. Then I found something interesting. An article published 2 weeks before Rebecca's death. The headline mentioned a public argument outside a restaurant. Witnesses claimed a young couple had been shouting at each other. The names weren't printed, but the date matched. And one witness described the man as owning a construction company. My father's company. My pulse quickened. This was the first independent piece of evidence connecting him to Rebecca before her death. But it still wasn't enough. I needed more. The next clue came from an unexpected source. My grandmother's former house. It had been abandoned for years. After her death, nobody wanted it. The property sat empty at the edge of town. According to my mother, Rebecca had lived there temporarily before she died. One Saturday morning, I drove there alone. The house looked frozen in time. Broken shutters, dust-covered windows, overgrown grass. For a moment, I wondered if I was making a mistake. Then I remembered the folder, the lies, the missing years. I stepped inside. Dust floated through sunlight pouring from cracked windows. Most rooms were empty, but one upstairs bedroom still contained old furniture. A dresser, a chair, a small desk, and, beneath the desk, a loose floorboard. My heart nearly stopped. Slowly, I pulled it aside. Underneath was a metal box. Locked, but rusted. After several minutes, it finally opened. Inside were photographs, letters, and a journal. Rebecca's journal. That night, I sat alone reading every page. For the first time in my life, I was hearing my biological mother's voice. Not literally, but through her words. And what she wrote changed everything. At first, the journal described normal things. Pregnancy, dreams, fears, excitement about becoming a mother. Then the tone shifted. Entries became darker, more emotional, more afraid. One sentence stood out. "I don't know who I can trust anymore." Another entry read, "David says everything will be okay, but I don't believe him." My hands tightened around the notebook. There it was again. My father. A few pages later, I found something even worse. Rebecca claimed someone was pressuring her to leave town. Someone wanted her silent. Someone wanted the baby hidden. The final entries became increasingly desperate. Then I reached the last page. The final words she ever wrote. "I will never forget them. If anything happens to me, it wasn't an accident." I stared at the sentence for what felt like hours. Those words felt like a message across time. A warning. A cry for justice. And suddenly I understood. Rebecca knew she was in danger. Hashtag, hashtag, hashtag the hidden letters. Inside the metal box were also several sealed letters. Most had never been opened. One was addressed to Sarah, my mother. Another was addressed to me. My hands trembled. How could she write to me? I wasn't even old enough to read. Then I noticed the note on the envelope. To be given to Ethan when he becomes an adult. Nobody had ever given it to me. Nobody. I opened it carefully. The handwriting was beautiful. The letter was short, but devastating. "Dear Ethan, if you're reading this, something happened that I hoped would never happen. I want you to know that I loved you from the moment I knew you existed. No matter what anyone tells you, never believe you were unwanted. You were my greatest joy. And if one day you start looking for answers, follow the truth wherever it leads. Even when it hurts. Love always.
Mom.
I broke down crying. Not because of what she wrote. Because of what had been stolen. A lifetime. 26 years. Questions I could never ask. Conversations we could never have. All gone. The unexpected witness. A week later, another breakthrough arrived. An elderly woman named Margaret called me unexpectedly. Apparently, she had heard I was asking questions. At first, she refused to speak on the phone. She insisted we meet in person. When we sat down at a small cafe, she looked nervous. Terrified, even. Then she said something shocking. I saw them that night. My father and Rebecca. My chest tightened. Margaret explained she had been walking near the river trail. She witnessed an argument. A serious one. Rebecca was crying. David was angry. But then she added something I didn't expect. He wasn't threatening her.
I